if you're using multiple solutions, it's complex, it's expensive, and it's disconnected. And so with Starting Point, we're solving the disconnected customer experience.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to SalesBiz. I appreciate you all taking the time. Before we kick off our episode today, I need you all to do me a huge favor and hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and if you find value out of this specific episode, drop some comments below. Today, my guest comes from a long line of SaaS and overall tech experience, from managing teams to serving on boards. He is now currently the founder and CEO of his company, Starting Point, among other several ventures. Super excited to get to know him and talk about his journey, Mr. Ray McKenzie, ladies and gentlemen. Ray, welcome.
All right. Thanks for having me, Mike. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, my man. I mean, granted everything that's going on, I can't complain. Healthy and happy. How about yourself?
Definitely, same thing. I think this year has been a long one, to be an understatement. But things have still been successful, still been pushing through and having some success. So, I mean, hopefully, we'll get through the rest of the year and then we'll flip the page and everybody will have more success in 2021.
I'm counting the minutes, my friend. Trust me, we're almost there. I'm just, I'm kind of holding tight. Like, is anything going to happen before 21 days left here? So, whew, fingers, toes, legs crossed. But yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Once again, I was super impressed with your background. So let's kind of get into that, Ray. You're a busy guy, but your background started in tech before
Yeah.
getting into finding companies and sitting on board. So let's talk about that. You had somewhat of a passion there. How did you jump into the tech side of the field?
Gosh, let's see. It started off, I always was playing as a youth. I was playing with computers a lot of times. My first computer was a Commodore 64. Possibly before your time, Mike. But I was really young and playing with computers. And then went to San Diego State and studied management information systems. In college, I did my internship with the San Diego Transit Authority in the IT department there. And then out of college, received a couple of job offers in Silicon Valley, or what is now called Silicon Valley, in the Bay Area, with about 4 different firms. Joined an early stage company, had success as an early employee. We got acquired by a publicly traded company in 2006, worked with them till 2010, walked across the street to their competitor till 2013, then worked with an early stage company here in Los Angeles, relocated us out here. And in all those positions, it was focused on tech. So I started out as a Windows network system administrator. That moved into leading service and support teams for internet infrastructure products and services, which then led into cybersecurity product and service support, sales, account management, professional services, tech operations, network operations. And then it's moved from there into identity and authentication. Then it moved into cloud computing. And so kind of my entire career rooted in technology, in kind of those specific aspects. And so I enjoy it. I think that's the root of it. And then throughout my career, obviously, I've layered on significant business expertise. And so I'm kind of the combination of business plus technology.
Best of all worlds, in my opinion. My career is mainly in SaaS sales. The majority of the time, I can't really speak to tech stuff. It's usually the solutions guys helping us. So if I had your brain, I feel like I'd make 10 times the money, but kudos to you, my friend. So did you always like playing with, I didn't hear any development side of it. So you were always like actually playing with the hardware aspect of it and then eventually diving in to the software side, or was it kind of all the above?
Yeah, it's interesting because I always liked playing with the software side first. And then I got into the hardware side because of one, my career, and two, job openings. So I started out obviously as desktop support and network administrator, system administrator. So I was more on the system side, hardware side. This is obviously before a lot of cloud computing initiatives were out. And so that's kind of where I kind of originally cut my teeth, and then it went into the internet and route IP routing and IP addresses and DNS and denial of service mitigation attacks and cybersecurity. So I never really focused a lot in terms of like the traditional computer science method, which is coding, you know, writing code, whether it be Java or C++ or Python or any of those languages. I never really was that. I was always a systems guy, and so that's kind of my background. That's kind of how it
Yeah.
all kind of spawned.
Have you ever thought about maybe a career in tech sales? Have you ever been like an SDR or anything along those lines?
Gosh, in tech sales, I think um, when you work for an early stage company in technology, you are always selling. And that's whether you're in a sales position or whether you are in a strategy position or whether you're in a support position. So in my career, I kind of started out in leading support organizations, but then that support organization then grew into an account management organization, which grew into a sales engineering organization as well, which then also then led into a professional services organization. So
Wow.
then through each layer of those, you're still selling, like if you're just providing technical support or service support, you're still selling upgrades perhaps. Then when
Right.
you're in an account management position or you're leading account management teams, you're selling. When you move into a sales engineering position, like you hinted at before, our goal is to make sure that the customer or the client always says yes to what we're saying. So it's a sales engineering is sales too. And then if you're in a professional services organization, you're trying to drive larger engagements and larger sales and all of that ties back into, those discussions and those engagements and those SOWs you're writing. And so, that's kind of sales. That's how it goes within tech. And then in my career after, my corporate career with early stage companies, that's when I founded my management consulting firm, Red Beach Advisors. So then I was really thrust into a position of sales because no longer do I have a team of 10, 20, 100 salespeople. I'm leading my firm. I've got to be the rainmaker. And so that led into sales of our management consulting services. And then fast forward into Starting Point now and what we built. I still drive a lot of obviously the sales, a lot of the discussion, a lot of the messaging, a lot of the strategy, a lot of the pricing, driving home value propositions, um, developing use cases, things like that. So, the sales aspect never quite gets away from you, which is a benefit because I think you always have to know how to sell. And that's something you really have to learn from tried and true experts. And there's different ways of doing it, and the success can happen.
Absolutely. You nailed it, my friend. I mean, I say everyone is in sales, whether you sold your wife to marry you or you sold your parents to let you borrow the car, sold your realtor to work it a little harder. We're all in sales, but um, yeah, it totally resonates with me. With respect to your experience, though, did you take on any type of courses or read some books to actually help you adopt some of that methodology and get some more grit on the sales side?
What's interesting in my career, I've been extremely blessed and fortunate to have worked with amazing people. Okay. And so, I think working with amazing people is extremely important early in your career, but you need to pair that with the ability to listen and observe. And so, if you're able to listen and observe successful and talented people in your career, you can learn and pick up a lot more than you can through courses or coursework or things like that. You really have to be able to watch successful people, understand what they do, how they do it, how they position certain questions, how they phrase certain questions, how they get to the sale and be able to close deals. And by being able to watch those individuals, it helps you shorten that learning curve in terms of how to sell. The challenge with me was always I've always known, and for the most part in my career, I always played a back office role. So, it was a support, service delivery, account management, sales engineering, professional services type of role. And then when I started to build my management consulting firm, I kind of had to flip it to where I was the one who was selling and things like that. And it wasn't in my nature to do that. And so I really had to teach myself how to sell. Wasn't a teach myself how to talk, teach myself how to communicate, teach myself, how to do SOWs, teach myself how to get to the close. It was more so the strategy around sales and the willingness and acceptance to hear no a lot of times and to keep going to bat and to learn from each no that you get. If you get a no, really analyze the conversation. And for the most part, it really taught me to just listen to customers, which was listen to their pain point, listen what they want. Can you provide what solves that? And then drive it home.
I hear you. Yeah, I think rejection, that's probably the one sales killer for a lot of personalities. They try to get into sales, but they hear that no. It's kind of like us, walking up to that beautiful lady or trying to ask your parents for the car. It's when you hear that no, it's a strict no. You feel like that's the end of it, and discourages a lot of people. So I'm glad you pushed through it.
Yeah, nose is just every no is a learning lesson. Every single one. Whether
Yeah.
it be timing, whether it be lack of a value prop, whether it be the solution just may not be good enough, or whether you're just talking to the wrong person. You
Yeah.
know, to go back to the analogy about trying to borrow the car, you ask your parent, can I borrow the car? And they say no. Well, how about I come back and I say, how about I take the car and have to run to the store? And when I come back home, I'll have some of the groceries that we need. Okay.
Aha, my man.
Now we're talking. Now we're on to something. Like, okay, I'm playing to the desire to stay. You get to stay at home, kick your feet up, and I'll go out and do the dirty work. And then it's a matter of negotiating how much time I'll be gone. And so then you just have to find out the time and the value prop, and if you're talking to the right person. And so, no's, if you're properly doing it correctly, those no's will lead you into a strategy of leading towards more yeses. But
You def
if you don't listen to what your target is telling you, you will never get there. And I see a lot of salespeople that do that too, which is they just continue the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and then it doesn't work.
you
And
definitely asked for the car a couple of times though. You had that whole sales cycle down. Well played, my friend. How do you if someone asks you like, Ray, you're so confident, how do you deal with these no's? Like what do you tell to the youngins out there if they ever ask for your advice? I mean, I see you set a lot of boards, so we'll definitely get into that, but how do you motivate people if they say, I'm going to get rejected?
you get used to it. That's the only
Amen.
thing I can say. Get
Yep.
used to it.
I heard a
That,
CEO yesterday actually on a podcast say that was her secret. She learned to love the no, not necessarily like resent it, but more of, okay, it's coming, but at least don't tell me not yet. Give me a definitive no or a yes, but don't tell
yeah,
me kind of dancing in that gray area.
yeah. The no's are the learning lessons. I can't learn too much from a not yet. Um,
Agreed.
Other than not yet leads towards, okay, this isn't the right time. No. Um,
Right.
for the person who really can't get past no or rejection, in life you kind of have to get used to it. That's kind of a life lesson too, which is everything's not going to go your way, and sometimes whether it be you're trying to make a sales call and you hear a no, or whether you're playing a sport and you think it's the right call to make, and your coach says no, or you want to go out on a date with a man or a woman and they say no. It's just something that goes with kind of life, the ups and downs of life. I think the ability to hear no, persevere, and if it's something you really want, come back and devise a way to get that is impressive. That's honorable, which is to keep going, because if it's something you really want and just one person tells you no, it's like, uh, okay, I'm just gonna go do something else. And you can't just keep running away from no's until you hear a bunch of yeses. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about you pivoting all the way from, we talked a little bit about your tech experience, but then you started your own management consulting business. And then you got on a ton of boards. I counted, you have 7 positions right now. Most of them are boards. How did you end up in a scenario like that? I'm always curious because I always see that on LinkedIn too.
Gosh, so it's an interesting thing. It's kind of how it progressed was that in my with my management consulting firm, I was introduced to a lot of early stage companies. And being engaged with a lot of early stage companies, they needed people that had a lot of advice or guidance with items with the business as it started to grow and scale. And so that's how I became a member of several advisory boards of companies. Was, hey, we're growing, our company's growing, we don't necessarily know everything. There's maybe ways you can help us either gather customers or give us some guidance to point us in the right direction. And so by meeting a lot of these early stage entrepreneurs, that opened the door for the advisory board. Then when it comes to the nonprofit organizations that I'm on the board of, I like to give back. That's just a part of life, which is everybody has a certain amount of passion that they have for certain causes. For me, it's kids and it's education. I'm married. I've
Good
got
for
four
you.
kids myself. Um, I want to see kids just be kids, and I want them to have the same educational opportunities that other kids have. And to be able to go to school and be able to learn and just be a kid and absorb life and have great experiences. And so with that, I got involved in a couple of nonprofit organizations. I'm a board chair of a public charter school here in Los Angeles right now. Um, and so it's all about volunteerism and just really taking your network and opening your network and just asking people, hey, is this something I can get involved in? And through getting involved in those items, I've found a way to give back. And so those are kind of core to me, just always trying to give back. Now, the board involvement isn't intensive, so it's not like it's a, hey, 5 hours a week for each board situation. It's more of a couple hours a month, maybe, depending upon the
Okay.
timing or depending upon what's going on with the companies. You're probably meeting with CEO for the companies. You're probably meeting with the CEO maybe an hour a week, maybe even less than that, depending upon what's going on. It could just be several different texts a week too. So it's not always a formal meeting. For the nonprofit organizations, it's usually a board meeting once a month for maybe 2 to 3 hours at a time.
Got it. I
So
was just about to ask actually that, like, how much time does that commit? How do you manage all these boards and 4 kids and a company? But I
yeah,
guess that
time
makes more
time
sense.
management, time management, man, time management. That's the key to everything. I mean, I like to work. I'm a workaholic to a certain extent, but I spend a lot of quality time with the family. A lot of time. Uh, it's just time management, really. And I work weekends. But I'm at every baseball game, and I'm at every basketball game. I'm at every cheer event. Um, and that's just kind of what's required.
Good for you, man. Mad respect for that. I mean, the fact that you're volunteering for kids, you already melted my heart a little bit on that one. But the fact that you take the time to be not just a good entrepreneur, not a good businessman, but a good father, I mean, I think that's the most important thing. So cheers to you on that one. So let's talk about your business, Starting Point.
Yeah.
It looks like you're catering to the SMB market. I saw a target market size of 2 to 20 per company. Tell me a little bit about the product and what the value prop is.
Yeah, so Starting Point is a customer operations and experience platform for companies and teams. The driver behind it and how Starting Point came to be is that I had founded, obviously, Red Beach Advisors, my management consulting firm. And the challenge we had was I was closing clients and customers, but I couldn't find one platform, one software to be able to see everything my clients or customers were engaged in. So I've got multiple consultants across the United States. Everybody's working on different projects. Everybody's got other lines of communication. Things are all over the place. And when I say all over the place, we're closing a client and we use 5 to 7 to 9 different applications to support that one customer. And so the
Wow.
challenge is, what if my consultant in Atlanta is not in the office, is out sick? Then they've got their own information that's stored somewhere else for this entire client. And I don't have visibility into it, nor do my other team members. And if you're using multiple solutions, it's complex, it's expensive, and it's disconnected. And so with Starting Point, we're solving the disconnected customer experience. So once you close a customer, you can use Starting Point to drive onboarding, project management, service and support management, team performance management, and file storage all in one. So you don't have to use 5 to 7 different solutions to service your customers and to provide a good customer experience. And then with that, the solution can be deployed and customized within 1 hour, and nothing takes more than 5 clicks inside the platform. So it's built for non-technical business leaders. It's built for efficiency and speed. And then your customers also have an external interface that they can work and communicate with you and your team through. So it provides a full 360-degree view of your customers and your clients and their relationships. And then if you're the owner of your firm, you can see everything that's happening through Starting Point. So you no longer have to ask that question as to, give me the background of this customer, or how is the customer onboarded yet? Or what's the status of this project? Or when's the last time this customer contacted me? Or are you reaching your target goals? Or did you take care of that to-do item that I asked you to take care of? Or where is that file that the customer sent you? All of these questions can be answered.
Love it. And is this a problem that you were actually you mentioned that earlier, right? You noticed some of that earlier on?
Yeah, it was now I ran into it with my firm.
Right.
And as I ran into it with my firm, I then went out and talked to about 150 other service related companies and found that they all had those same questions. So those same questions that I asked you, those 7 questions, those are repeated questions across almost every service related company and or team.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely see the issue with that because I've been in sales once again for the longest time, and every time post close, it feels like there is some kind of disconnect. And you have your Salesforces and Slacks and all that of the world, but it seems like that kind of broaches everything into one. So is your solution integrated with some of these tools, or is it kind of a standalone that needs to operate?
Yeah,
Um,
what we do is, we really delineate ourselves. We're not a CRM platform. So we don't compete with the Salesforce, the HubSpots, the Pipe Drives of the world. We use HubSpot internally right now. That's what we use. So we use a CRM tool. Now, once we close a customer, everything after that is all starting point.
Got it. Well,
And
what
so
about in terms of like if you were to collect data, is there any way to merge that into HubSpot or
building building that into the platform. So we're
love it.
building API integrations. In 2021, we've got kind of a significant roadmap of integrations, but also with the integrations, we want to make sure that it's simplistic because we want to make sure that no action takes more than 5 clicks if possible. And so we're building integrations to some of the top tier platforms, best of breed platforms, so that there is a seamless transition of customer information throughout the life cycle of them being clients or customers.
Got it. And did you want to play specifically into the SMB? By the way, did I get that right? That your target market is SMB, or are you guys kind of expanding
Yeah,
into
we're kind
mid-market?
of, I mean, we're industry agnostic and vertical agnostic. We work with teams, companies and teams between 2 to 20 individuals, ideally. It can scale up to much larger organizations. We've got customers on the platform that have up to about 80 team members utilizing the platform. Um, it's all about just efficiency and scale and systems, and it's things are moving in the right direction. We launched in May of 2020, so it's still relatively new, but we're having some good success.
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up, Ray, because I was definitely going to ask about that. We're living in a crazy time, as we talked about earlier, and you launched the company 2 months after the worst pandemic in over a century took place. How? How did that happen?
So it obviously the concept and the idea started before,
Right.
way before. So, I had the idea on a notepad for 2 years. And then last year, 2019, is when I said, we need this. And so we started building it because it was a problem that wasn't going to go away regardless of what was going on. It was just, the problem was just going to be there. People are using 5, 7 different applications to support clients or customers. And sometimes you think back and it's like, this makes no sense. And so that was happening in 2019. Then as we started building, we just kept building and kept building and kept building. And people did say, you're crazy. Why launch a product during the pandemic? Well, when it's already 70, 80% built and you're already driving down the road, if you're on a trip that's 100 miles and Disneyland is at the end of that trip and you're 80 miles into the trip, you're not going to say, let's turn around and let's go back home. Oh, we're going to see the big mouse and we're going to figure this out. And so with that, we were already building. And so it was like, okay. And then COVID hit. And so COVID hit and it actually accelerated the use case for the platform, because now all of a sudden you have everybody who would have been in an office next to each other, who you could have walked down the hall and said, how's this project going? Or where's this document? Or what was the last communication with this customer? Now everybody's distributed. And so now that everybody's distributed, everybody's working from wherever they need to work. Some people are out sick, some people are healthy. Everybody's trying to take care of their families. Some people are reachable, some people are not. Our system helps centralize all of that information into one.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. It sounds like if anything, you launched at the right time because the need just exponentially enhanced. So if anything, it sounds like business is doing good, but tell us a little bit about that. I mean, uh, everyone, there's still a lot of unknowns in this world. People are kind of holding their budgets close, not sure
Yeah,
where 2021 is going to take us. So tell us a little bit about how business is going and where do you see yourself growing in 2021 with the starting point?
yeah, and that's a driver for it. I mean, people are holding their budgets tight. I think we saw for a period of 6 weeks, from March 15th to May 1st, everything shut down. And companies didn't know where revenue was going to be. Budgets got slashed, people got laid off. that's just kind of what happened. And our solution actually fits into that case, which is we allow you to save money because you don't have to pay for these myriad of tools, and you can use Starting Point. So not only do we save you money with our use case, but we also save you time because you no longer need to shift between platforms, shift between systems. You can build workflows into the platform. Information is readily available. And so it makes it easier. It makes your ability to provide a smooth customer experience faster, that much quicker.
Absolutely. Well, kudos, man. I mean, you got to figure it out. So, mad respect for the hustle there. Now, let's talk a little bit about on the personal side.
Yes.
You're an entrepreneur. You're sitting on boards. You have your own company, and then you're sitting at home working from home with 4 kids.
Yeah.
How are you still smiling? Because from what I'm hearing out there, I got 2 dogs. I don't even have kids, and I'm already going crazy in this house. So, how are you coping with that? Give us some advice.
Um, we early mornings, late nights. Um, I'm usually up on calls at 6 in the morning. The kids are getting ready for school at about 7:30. They're all distance learning, so they're all in their own little pockets of the house. My daughter's in her room. Um, one of the boys in the living room, the other boy's in his room. My oldest son, who's in college, is in a bedroom. Um, my wife is working in her office. Everybody's kind of, in their own little pocket in the world as to making things happen. Uh, then from there, everybody kind of takes breaks around lunchtime. We all kind of get together and we all laugh and joke with each other, and then it's back to work. And then after school's over, we kind of do homework time with the little ones. So they all do homework. And then it's back to work. We all have dinner together. And then depending upon what's going on after dinner, it's back to work for maybe an hour or two. And then everybody goes to bed. I mean, my kids are my oldest son is 20. My middle son's 12 and the younger ones are 10. So it's not like they're real babies or real small. They're doing their stuff, playing with toys on the internet, playing video games, talking with friends through apps like Discord, stuff like that. So it's it's interesting, and we make time, and it's everybody. We go out to eat usually. Well, when we could go out, we go out to eat one week, and just try to find ways to have a good time and hang out together. So, everything is about time management. I can't
There you
stress
go.
that enough. I cannot stress that enough. Time management and prioritization. So, as you kind of have a family and have a wife and kids and things like that, it's all about making time and then prioritizing those certain moments. And I can't share that. I was on a call earlier with a gentleman, and he has two children himself. And at a point in our careers, we made a point to prioritize quality of life over dollars. And so it was like, yeah, I could go out and work for a company and make a crazy amount of money and travel around the world. But at the same time, we've got at home and they've got events, they've got recitals, they've got games, they've got travel, all those things. So you got to pick one of the two. And I never wanted to sit back and say I missed out on those important things due to my career. And I'm perfectly happy with the choices I've made. Put it like that. I mean, my oldest son, he played a lot of basketball, AU club basketball. It's resulting in him playing college basketball. But those 4 years when he was playing AU basketball, we always were on the road, traveling, playing tournaments. We play in Las Vegas, we play in the Bay Area, we play in San Diego, we play in Arizona. He's played in New York, North Carolina, New Jersey. He's played all over the place. Well, the only way he does that is by having a parent who can always get him back and forth to those games. And so we were always doing that. We were always on the road traveling. And the decisions I made in life have allowed me to do that and continue to participate and do that. And with my middle son, he plays a lot of baseball. Playing, gosh, we went to Las Vegas, we went to Arizona, we playing all over California. And so, by building a life around your family and having to have some success with that, that allows you to have a good quality of life. And so it's all time management and prioritization, man.
Absolutely. Family first. I have a code: family, freedom, fortune, literally in that row, in that specific order. First family, second freedom, and then everything else is fortune. Mad respect to you, my friend. And by the way, did you say your son's 20?
Yeah,
College?
he's
Keep up
20.
those. I don't know what those vitamins are, but I'm going to need a list of those. All right. So keep up whatever the hell it is you're doing. Good for you, my man. And last question for you, Ray. Successful businessman, successful family man. What advice would you have for your 18-year-old self if you were to meet that man?
There's a couple of different things I'd say. The first thing I'd say is definitely save 20 to 30% of all the money you make. The next thing I'd say is make sure you are always focused on building good relationships and pairing that with being a good person. Always. It's always paramount. And the last thing I'd say is you'll learn more by shutting up. Watch and observe. And watch and observe everybody. Not just the smart people, but also the people that are making mistakes. Because if you can watch and observe from those people, you'll learn a lot more without having to go through some of the pain points that other people have. Or if you watch and learn from successful people, you can also be successful. And so those are the three things I would share.
Amen to that, man. Well, Ray, appreciate you taking the time, man. Once again, enamored with all the success, all the accomplishments, the family lifestyle. I mean, you're the true package, my friend. Really appreciate you taking the time. Keep crushing it out there. I'll definitely be sharing more information on startingpoint.co, was it? Or
www.startingpoint.ai.
AI, excuse me.
And anybody can find me obviously on LinkedIn at Raymond McKenzie, www.linkedin.com/in/Raymond McKenzie. And feel free to add me there or on Twitter at RayMC209.
Awesome. I'm going to drop all those links below, folks. Go ahead and comment if you have any questions for myself or Ray. Ray, once again, my man, thanks so much for your time. Stay safe and healthy, and let's keep in touch.
No, definitely, Mike. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure talking to you. And feel free to reach out to me at any time if you need anything.
Appreciate you, man. Take care.